first. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Liberty Libations. Jake is running late, so I'm here. Zach Varnell, joined as always by Zane, Placie, Alden, Hardee, and Stephen Hilton. And our special guest this week is Sean Kennedy. He's the chair of the American Liberty Caucus and newly elected town councilman up in Massachusetts, right?
Yeah, I just got elected this past weekend.
Cool.
Nice.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
We'll talk about that more in a second.
Yeah.
But first, what is everybody drinking? Let's start with you, Sean.
I'm just finishing off a bottle of Basil Hayden 10-year.
Nice.
Cool. What about you guys?
So first, I'm having the last of Good Word Vestigial Structures. It's a nice West Coast. And then speaking of West Coast IPA, the Scofflaw Quest Coast. So
Nice.
That's the new one I'm into, because fresh IPAs are hard to come by these days.
Good.
Yeah, there you go.
I've got whatever the rum equivalent of a screwdriver is. I have no idea.
A wrench?
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I joked to Haley. I'm like, what do you call this? So I was like, yeah, a ratchet. I don't know. And then also, just for good measure, a tall boy chelada. Just guys.
Yeah.
So is that clam juice?
I don't know if that's in here or not, actually.
Oh, yeah.
I was joking about that too earlier. No, just as tomato, salt, and lime.
Okay. That's tolerable. Could do that.
Keeping it real simple, just got a Heineken.
Yeah, there you go. Although in the cans, I think the Heine Light is actually better in the cans. I know that defies logic, but I've done multiple taste tests, and I'm sticking with that. Heine Light's better.
I like
in the cans.
all Heineken better out of the can, honestly, because any of those like skunkier, like kind of pill styles like that, or Corona, or anything that has that skunky bit, I think the light coming through the bottles makes that worse. And
yeah. Well, that's science.
I think cans better, yeah, across the board with all of those.
All right. Well, that was our science minute with Alden.
Yeah. Yeah. Beer science. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just have a LaCroix tangerine.
Going hard.
Yeah.
Watch
Not
out.
quite the most bitter, but getting close. All right. So while we wait on Jake, so we're all super unprepared, have no idea what we were supposed to be talking about. I hadn't even looked at the show title. So let's just talk to Sean for a minute. Like, tell us about your run here for town council, and you're one of the few libertarians who now have actually pulled it off, and you're going to be in office here starting Monday, right?
Yeah, I get our first town council meeting is on Tuesday, so it's exciting. So first I want to say,
are you going to end the Fed?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I've been asked online my position on Israel and a whole other things that are completely inconsequential to being on a local town council. So if anything highlights the ridiculously of people's expectations, it's some of the comments lately. But no, it's been crazy. I saw we had a group, and we have a group in town that constantly protests, and they hate Nazis, and they hate Trump, and they hate Elon, and they fly flags, and they do all this stuff. So they got a counselor who happened to be in my district counselor. He kept putting this stuff on the agenda, and they're voting on it, and it was essentially a resolution that upset a lot of people in town, and it was a DEI resolution. It was sprinkled on through. And there was even language in there on ignoring federal law on immigration and some other ridiculous stuff. And, I was just on my couch, and I was like, this is ridiculous. Just talking to my wife. And then some woman got up who doesn't even live in town. They let her speak, and she's talking about white supremacy. And, we agree with free speech, but, not hate speech and this and that. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go down there. I'm going to say something. So I got up, drove down, second citizen comment, spoke up. I said the entire thing was ridiculous. I pointed to the special interest groups in it, and I said that, you're putting really well-intended counselors and good people in a position where if they vote this down, they're told they hate these groups of people when it has nothing to do with that. It's just an inappropriate use of your time on the town council, and it's virtue signaling. And from there, speaking up, I got contacted by people that were more on the Republican side of town that were like, hey, will you consider this? And after a conversation with my wife, I was like, well, we'll give it a shot. We'll see how it goes. And with a lot of help from people in town, people that are tired of the way things are going, we have like dirty water. Our wells are messed up. Our roads are a disaster. They're looking to pass an override right now for the teachers who, there was a lot of stuff to go off of. People are very unhappy, which was working in my favor. And what I said kind of got passed around and resonated with people in town. And I think that, with libertarians that are considering running for anything, the one thing I would say is stay in your lane, stay with the priorities that are local, stay with the stuff people cares about. In those private conversations you have with people, they're going to ask you, what party are you in? So they're expecting Democrat, Republican. And when I'd say libertarian, they'd go, oh, all right. Like, what does that mean? What is that? What do you guys
even know
think?
how to respond?
Right. And instead of going, well, what we really want to do is have small communes with private security forces and no taxes. And you can put a toll booth in front of your house when people drive by and like all kinds of I was like, look, like we want, smallest government as possible, the government out of your life. You own your personal property. The government should leave you alone. And you just live your life and leave people alone, be a good person to your neighbors. And, we just want lower taxes and just generally more freedom. There's more to it, but that's kind of the gist of it. And that resonates with people that just want to be left alone. And a lot of the people that are in these positions that care in town and people that want somebody to vote for, they also just want to be left alone. Like that is the group of people you need to get out and vote. The people that want to be left alone by everybody, and the people that are trying to force down this tolerance nonsense down people's throats, and it turns people off. Like we're all adults. If I want to be nice to somebody, I will. If I don't want to like somebody, that's my prerogative. But most people are good people, and really staying in the priorities that are local is really important. And I would tell people to try to give it a shot. But to do it, you do need a good group. So if you don't have a solid libertarian group, like very, very, very local, like in your town, in the surrounding towns, then you gotta get on board with some other groups if you can. So for me, it was the Republican Town Committee was helpful, and my local Social Libertarian Party, they showed up to my events. They helped me on the day of the election. They were there for that stuff when it really mattered, and having a good group of people there is super important. So we did it. We were able to pull it off, and I'm there for 3 years now, and we're just gonna try to do what we can to help the town. And it is exciting. I'm psyched about it. It's a big step.
Yeah. So from like the town level, it's like
real quick, Steven,
oh,
I'm gonna bounce, and Jake is here, so just gonna hot swap, and you guys go ahead and take off again, Steven.
All right. So like on the town level, what can you do to inspire liberty? People want more than one trash service to choose from. They want to, be able to put up a fence. So like the town level is really like your daily life. Like that's really, and it's the way our country was founded. That part is still intact. It's 90% of our government still comes from the local level. Like the government that affects your daily life comes from your town council, and these are the people you bump into in the grocery store. You're at soccer practice with them. They're tangible. These are the people you can reach out and touch. Yeah.
The people you can meet face to face and have those conversations with are the key people that you want to get in touch with. And people will come up and ask you questions. It's a nonpartisan race, so there's no L win there. But what I will say is everyone cares about what party you're in. It didn't matter. And I always responded the same to everybody. I was like, well, look, it's a nonpartisan race. It's supposed to focus on water, roads, schools. And they're like, well, what party are you in? And I'm, you tell them, and then you go from there. And it opens up an interesting discussion, because depending on where or what they've heard of libertarians, you could land anywhere on the map. Right.
Yeah.
And for a while, the libertarians in Massachusetts were like basically just Democrat light, woke, like they invested all their time and energy in other groups that don't care about us. And honestly, it was really good though, the reception that I had. And like you said, it's local level stuff. It's at a bare minimum, we can say we don't want to pay taxes, and we don't, right? But if you have to pay them, you want them spent on things that are appropriate for taxes to be spent on, not special interest projects by some people. And that was another thing I spoke up about. Yeah, they're spending our money on like book restorations, like $13,000 to restore a book. Like, okay, well, how much of that? How many Chromebooks does that pay for in the school system? How many? Like, it's stuff that you need to be able to touch. You know what I mean? In the town, and that's what people care about. They care about the parking lots and the parks. They care about whether the swing sets are functioning. It's not this high level philosophical libertarian arguments over. It's lower level stuff, but you can bring people in and introduce them to it. And then if they go on their own and they start looking into it or read something, and they go, "Oh, I kind of like the sound of this. I didn't think that. I didn't know this was really out there." Because most people are just introduced to what the conservatives are, which is 5 to 10 years behind the Democrats. So they're not really conserving a whole lot, and it's just good to get the word out on what it is. People were genuinely interested. I'm probably going to have a couple of people show up at some meetings at some point in the future now that the run's over, and I really do want to see more libertarians come out and do it. I'm going to be reaching out to the chair of the National Party over it. And we need to just have a good, solid support system on how to do this and a roadmap that works. And that roadmap, unfortunately, does not go through just libertarians. You need to find a coalition of people that are independents or just want to see change in the town. And it does work. It just, it takes a group. You can't do it by yourself. You can't just show up and do it by yourself. So, yeah.
Nice. Well, Sean, welcome to the show, man.
What's up, Jake? How you doing?
Good, man. Well, now that I'm here, can we just start over and you say everything that you just said for the last 12 minutes? Do it all again.
I'll give you a quick update. So this past weekend, I got elected as the District 3 rep in Bridgewater, Massachusetts on town council.
Nice.
So after a race for a couple months, thank you. Just happened.
Awesome.
So I would say, if you want to run, go to your town council meetings or your selectmen meetings and get up there and just tell people the truth. You don't like what's going on. You want to see change, and keep your ideas at the local level for what people can see and taste and feel, and they know what's wrong. And it does make a difference. And a lot of people
like the lead in your water.
like the brown rusty crap in my water.
Yeah.
So
nice. Well, that's great, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Speaking of water, sorry, Jake.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, do you have any influence over like fluoridated water for your township? I don't know if that's something.
So we don't have
fluoridated water. Only 13 minutes to get the fluoride.
We don't have fluoride water.
Oh, nice.
We do have plastics in the water, and they just we have a well system, and they just
for the whole town.
For the whole town, yeah, we have 10 wells. Cool. We live in a very high water table area.
Okay.
So we have we just built a new pump system. The PFAS stuff came out after, so they didn't filter on that. So now we're like retrofitting a brand new station that was millions of dollars to filter this stuff out, which is tough. And then we have older wells, and when those wells get turned on, especially in the summertime, because there's water shortages, people are using it more in their lawns and pools and stuff. They tap into older wells, and they're pumping like rusty water into the system. And your water looks like they're flushing hydrants all summer long outside your house. And this isn't new. This has been going on for like 7, 8, 9 years at least, since I've been in town. So it's it's like how you pay for that. So, in our town, to pay for the water is a separate bill. It's not in our general fund. So the only way to really fix a lot of the water stuff is like grants from the state, federal grants if you can get them, or just raising up the rate on the water bill. And it's honestly, it's doubled, I believe, in the last couple of years. So we are just squeezing it. The whole town is like frustrated. And these are all preventable things with correct planning. And we are where we are because there wasn't good planning for the last 15 years or so. It's a tough spot. So.
Yeah, that's never good. But man, it's always good to focus on the local stuff and actually make an influence, like in the around your friends and neighbors and people in your immediate area, like
things like the Ukraine and Israel and
especially those areas. You know,
yeah.
No, like this, we say this on this show all the time. You know, like people are so obsessed with national politics and like statewide politics. You do way more good if you get involved locally, and you do good for the people you're closest to, which is, what it's all about anyway.
Absolutely. And that's for me, like we have our plenty of issues in Massachusetts all over the place. And I happen to be in a unique position where I have a little bit more time to work on something like that than someone else might. But at the end of the day, if you want to do something productive and useful that affects your taxes and your daily life, get involved in your town. There's not a lot of involvement in the people that are there.
Yeah.
Like titles, they like having their name recognition in town. They have a very unique way of pushing out very good, productive people out of your town government. And there's a reason why they become dysfunctional. So,
but it's harder to do that when you've got a mustache like yours and a beard like yours, you know.
Dude, I just went with it, man.
That's maybe why you won, man.
People just thought you were a wizard and were super wise. That's
that is the Neil Bortz forecast of, the one that wins is usually the one with the best head of hair.
Oh, jeez, I'm screwed.
I just ran with it, man. I was like, you know what? They're either going to like me or they're not going to like me. And if they like me, I got them. And they'll support me. And there's a lot of people that apparently liked what I had to say more than they cared about how long my hair was. So
there we go.
I ran with it. That attitude a lot more than like pandering to someone, because it's like the equivalent of like pretending you're someone you're not to get into a relationship, and then it like works, and then you get into a relationship and you're like, oh, but now am I stuck being this thing I'm not? Or
is it kind of like our relationship with the audience? Is that kind of what happened here?
Yeah,
we're now stuck with these people, you know.
Yeah.
We just I hear what you're
pander to these people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any influence over I was just gonna say like permits and things like that, like at the town level, like
so
whatever.
Yeah, like building permits go through those boards are also accessible to everybody. So if you can just volunteer to get on that stuff as well. There are things like eminent domain that go to the council. Mm-hmm. A lot of it is general fund spending, contracts, and there's just resolution stuff that people want to do. And you're there for public comment too. Like this, we have citizen comment twice a meeting, so people get up and they say what they think is right, what they think is wrong. Definitely a lot of stuff that they think is wrong.
Yeah.
The way Massachusetts open meeting law is, you can't say a word. You just have to sit there and listen to it. And so what I would like to do, if it's feasible for me to do, and I have the time to do it, is take a lot of those comments that do come through and try to address them in a public way. So I have a Facebook page for my campaign. The incumbent that I was able to beat wasn't even on social media. He's a gentleman in his 70s, I believe, was very anti-social media and all that. And I don't want to be bickering and fighting with citizens on Facebook or something, but that's like the town hall of, like your residence pages is like where everyone goes for all the stuff. Like the lights go out, you're on your residence page, the water changes color, or, the ambulance goes by too many times, or there's a helicopter overhead, or there's a big bang in your neighborhood. Everyone's like, what's the noise? So that's where everyone goes for everything. And to not be acknowledging that in 2025 is shows a bit of a disconnect, in my opinion. So we'll see how it goes. It's going to be an interesting run for sure.
Heck yeah. Well, good luck to you, man. That's going to be awesome. I'm excited.
Thanks, man.
Well, y'all, let's get into the first topic of the night, shall we?
Sure.
All right. The question on tonight's agenda is, did Trump screw over Canada?
Yes.
All right. Let's move on to the Pelosi Act. No, go ahead and hit play on this. This is Canada's new prime minister.
You demanded
Mr.
action.
Carney.
And now it's time for the financial sector to deliver. To reach net zero, every country, every company, every bank, every investor, every pension fund around the world will need to make some big changes. In the run-up to COP26 in Glasgow, we have an enormous opportunity to bring climate change into the heart of every financial decision. And our plan will manage the risks from climate change while helping to seize the opportunities from a newer, greener economy. The UK has been at the forefront of innovation for centuries, brimming with ingenuity and a can-do spirit. It also houses the world's largest financial system. And by bringing them together, we can deliver the net zero world that you've demanded and that our future generations deserve.
Who demanded it?
The world's coming to Glasgow.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's
Yeah.
reshape finance for a sustainable world.
He
I
did
like
say
this.
finance, so he's had formal education.
Finance, and then he had a really nice long pause. Why did it rearrange everybody? That was really stupid.
This is tripping me out.
Well,
I like
you've
that he
gotta-
said that.
You've got to bring in the global financial systems, or else you won't have nearly enough money to waste on renewable energy.
Yeah. And
So
but
go ahead,
the
Alden.
we demanded it portion is interesting because like for years it's been this like trickling propaganda from their level down to us, and now it's like, oh, but you demanded it. It's like, I don't know, it's just hokey.
Yeah. So this is who Canada has decided to elect. It should have been Pierre Poilievre, or however you say his last name, who was incredibly entertaining and right on a ton of issues. I mean, he still had his own problems that libertarians wouldn't agree with, but for the most part,
I don't think
he would have been
libertarians agree
massive
with
improvement.
libertarians. So
What's that? What'd you say, Alden?
I don't think libertarians agree with anybody. So it's like,
Okay, yeah,
Not even ourselves.
that's
that's what I was saying. Exactly.
And then during their election cycle was when Trump started saying he's going to turn Canada into the 51st state, which
Is that okay? Because I've been seeing
yeah,
that around now, and I didn't realize that was
That
what
wasn't as bad as saying they suck at hockey.
well, you know, when they did say that, and then no Canadians stood for the United States national anthem during a hockey match, we went and obliterated them both on the scoreboard and physically. So they got what was coming to them there. But man, you can watch the numbers completely change after Trump said that thing. You can just start see them going up for Carney and down for Poilievre, and it's wild, man. That because Carney is just Trudeau 2.0. I mean, he's worse than Trudeau.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be a very interesting thing what happens in Canada now. And if y'all want Jordan Peterson's take, that's our next clip.
I mean, I'm sorry, but all this proves to me is that Canadians are stupid and can't take a joke. Because if they what they really did was like get so upset about an obvious joke about, authoritarianism from Trump that they, decided that the best move would be to vote in an authoritarian that actually controls them, as opposed to one that is just joking about them being the 51st state. I mean, it's easy to, I obviously feel bad for all the base Canadians out there that this happened to them.
Yeah.
But for everybody that got swayed by this and now voted in Carney because of that, I mean, I'm sorry, but I don't feel bad. I'll feel bad for you in a couple of years if and when you ever realize what a terrible decision this was. But
I think
kind of like
being able
there's a
take
limit
joke
to
is-
my amount of empathy. I'm sorry.
it's a skill or a trait or whatever that I wish that more people here too would get in touch with again, like just being able to brush things off and take things as a joke. And like honestly, we take things I think a little too seriously here as well, like just from what I've been seeing. And like I'll like watching a video and like go to the comments and it's like first 10 comments are just like a dumpster fire, and I'm like, and the problem is that then gets other people angry, and then like I don't know, it's just, and the whole thing was over a truly a joke, like over a comedic sketch or something that wasn't even ever meant to start like a conversation of that caliber. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, we get outraged over the things that you're not supposed to get out. Like the amount of outrage over Trump wearing a blue suit to the Pope's funeral is, I mean, I
didn't
can't
realize
even
that was a thing.
believe how many articles have been written about Trump's blue suit going to a funeral when there were like 6 other
That's
people there
silly.
with blue suits. Like,
No, there were dozens.
okay, I only saw 6 in the photo with him.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I saw a zoomed out photo. There was at least 100. I mean, it was.
This blue suit thing and all the articles in the legacy media about it
Yeah,
is making me more convinced than ever that a large portion of the legacy media actually have a mental illness that's forcing them to write articles like this. Because we saw this in Trump's first term, all these articles about how Trump is such a bore, he has no idea how to behave. If you remember this video that went really viral of Trump dumping out all the fish food when he was visiting the Japanese prime minister, and they're like, oh, I can't believe that Trump did that, but they don't show you the part of the video 5 seconds before that where the prime minister of Japan had just done the exact same thing.
yeah.
So, but it's like all of the stories like that have been so utterly rejected and exposed for the frauds that they are, and the American people have so clearly communicated that we no longer care. For it to be 2025 and still be writing articles about, oh, I can't believe that Trump wore a blue suit to the Pope's funeral, I honestly cannot explain why these articles are still being written, because it has no propaganda value anymore. That's no longer a good enough explanation.
Completely.
I just wanted to say I agree, Jake, that Pierre should have been the guy. I think he was similar to Trump in certain aspects, dealing with the media, and at a minimum, it would have just led to fantastic entertainment for the next few years. But I think Canada has decided that they will like communism, and I think that the western part of Canada does not like communism. British Columbia and Alberta have been very vocal against and very pro gun laws and keeping their guns. I mean, they live up in the woods. Like, you can't be living up there with bears and not have firearms. So
Jake,
I would love for this to like snowball into like an acceleration where we do end up with 2 more states, and it's British Columbia and Alberta, and we just have a direct pipeline up to Alaska with no Canada involved, and then let them slowly collapse, because they're screwed now. They're done. This was their shot to turn it around. Their inflation is through the roof. They're importing tons and tons of people into the country.
They have a massive percentage of suicides and assisted suicides.
The stuff you can get in a government assisted suicide for that's a low bar.
Oh, yeah. So migraines.
Yeah.
Somebody was on their special Olympic team went in there with migraines, and they're like, have you thought about killing yourself?
Depression. You can have assisted suicide for depression.
Yeah.
To be fair, it does cure it.
It 100% does.
It'll cure what ails you. Yeah.
It cures everything.
Down here, somebody moved to Georgia just a few years ago. They came from Canada because they got a tattoo up there, and they were allergic to whatever ink was used, and they were having a severe allergic reaction to it. So they had to wait 2 weeks to get an appointment. Meanwhile, this thing's swelling and itching, and it was a mess. And so they go in there and they're like, oh yeah, you're having an allergic reaction. This is probably going to kill you in the next 3 to 6 months. We can schedule you for a removal in about 12 months. And they were like, what? And so they started calling some hospitals. They just went online and started looking all down the East Coast of America. Yeah. They found a hospital down here in Atlanta, and they're like, yeah, $12,000. We'll get you here next week.
They said, Austin, we have free healthcare for foreigners. We have the best hospitals in the world. They skipped us. My taxes pay for these people.
Right.
Well, let's see what one of the most verbose Canadians has to say about this election.
Inevitable grand poobah of the currently wretched but still dangerously powerful Liberals. One Mark Carney is one of the world's prime advocates of the insane inanities of net zero. He is a man who has planned in writing, not least in his best-selling book, Values, the complete destruction of the fossil fuel industry. Bye-bye, Alberta, if that's not bad enough. And it is. He's also simultaneously an advocate of the same post-national view of Canada defined by Trudeau Jr. and his moralistic minions. What are we, according to such good thinkers? Nothing. But if anything, the oppressive, patriarchal, white, supremacist, identityless, colonial settler state defined by the progressive ideologues in the think tanks and elite dining rooms in Eastern Canada and the protest encampments on the campuses of Canadian universities. None of this fills the MAGA crowd with admiration, in case it needs to be said. None of it bodes well either for the economy of Canada. Doomed to replacement, according to Carney, by the hydrogen, solar, and wind power that either does not exist, that would be hydrogen, or that would doom Canadians to starve and freeze in the dark if it ever came to replace the reliable grid and transportation we also desperately depend on when it's 40 bloody below. We may, when arguing so expensively and incompetently with the Americans, continue to congratulate ourselves on our comparative righteousness. That diet will become even thinner gruel, however, in a future characterized by their explosive economic growth and our rapid descent toward comparative poverty and irrelevance, green though that pathway may be argued, however falsely to be. Carney, to put it bluntly, is not a man like Justin Trudeau, a second-rater, under the mere influence of the World Economic Forum, that Malthusian fear-mongering cabal of authoritarian elitists, drunk on the fumes of their own self-righteous delusions. He is, by contrast, a veritable leader of that movement, an organizer par excellence of ESG, stakeholder capitalism, diversity, equity, and inclusiveness, and degrowth. Out with the old, the Liberals claim, and in with the new. But the new will be everything Trudeau so terribly was, but a lot more efficiently.
All right, we've got to close all our bases in the Middle East so that all our troops can be brought home to liberate the prairie provinces.
Dude, that's a heck of a speech, man. Like, I don't know how you string those kinds of words together like that.
Canadian outrage is so I don't know, prudent.
Polite.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, underneath all of that, he was basically just saying this guy sucks and he's going to bring about the death of Canada via DEI, green energy, and an economic crash.
I think the biggest problem a lot of people have with him already, like right off the rip, is he's proudly citizens of other nations. Like, I mean, yes, I know, a third to half of our Congress is.
Yeah, he's Irish.
Yeah. I mean, he's like, yes, I'm an Irish citizen. And they're like, why are you the Canadian Prime Minister?
Yeah. No, that's I don't know the rules in Canada, so I don't know like who's allowed to do what up there. But
yeah, I mean, obviously the natural born thing is not an issue at all.
Real Swampcast has a good question for you, Stephen. Who are they, Stephen?
That would be the Canadians with a head and
gotcha.
Yeah, and a set between their legs. They're upset that they have a foreigner running their country.
Yeah. No, I have seen quite a few posts about that, and it's just for the longest time we thought it was going to be Pierre. He was polling way higher than Trudeau, and then Trudeau and his buddies seemed to try to pull something similar to what Biden and Kamala tried to pull, which was drop out mid-race so that a new guy can take over. It worked there. It did not, obviously, at all work here. And, yeah, I mean, a lot of people are very much upset with Pierre because they said he didn't do enough in the media. Apparently, he could have gotten on Joe Rogan at some point in time and failed to do so.
Another thing that Kamala did.
Yeah, another thing that Kamala did. It seems like if you go on Joe Rogan, you're going to win something. That seems like
it seems silly not to try. At least,
happening. I guess since Chase Oliver didn't get on there, we will never know if it actually was happening.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
That could have been it. That could have been the push.
Could have been it. Yeah.
Rogan
Did y'all know anything about Carney before he became prime minister?
No, I was just going to ask you guys, is his citizenship, is he just a dual citizen? Because that's super common for Canadians.
From what I can tell, he is an Irish citizen, and that's it. But I have not.
Oh, okay.
I've not
Wow.
dug deep into his citizenship.
I've,
but I've not
seen an interview where that's what he led with, because they were like,
Yeah.
you're not originally a Canadian, are you? He goes, no, I'm an Irish citizen. So it's not like a,
Oh.
you know, I've got an honorary dual citizenship, you know, like
Okay.
like Israel does with our congressman. You know, hey, congratulations on winning. You're now a citizen of Israel.
Right.
They have a huge socialist problem in Ireland right now. Huge.
Yes,
So
huge.
if you're
That's why
exporting
Ireland-
socialism,
Ireland
That's
was the
the problem.
birth of the global minimum tax. That was one of Biden's last big campaigns when he was still somewhat coherent,
Jeez.
because they wanted, because they were trying to unify because they were just looking at the disparity in the OECD with all the tax rates and this and that, and of course they closed the loophole recently for the double Irish Dutch sandwich, which is how, you know, the Fortune 100 companies were avoiding taxation. And so since Ireland was the ground zero for avoiding taxes, they wanted to make it the birthplace of the global minimum tax, which was that was basically, you know, step one of the global governance, right? You know, there was an agreement amongst all the OECD that we're going to have a minimum corporate tax rate across the planet, so that way, you know, people can't go to one country or another to escape this or that. There's always this baseline everywhere.
Yeah.
And it was something stupid. It was like 25%.
Oh, that's right. Rebel Media.
I just
Sorry.
did.
Go
ahead.
They asked, is there no popular Canadian podcast, or is it all
It's
state-run media?
state-run,
So
too.
it is state-run
Yeah.
media.
Yeah. You can't
and-
share links on social media.
Real Swampcast said there was that group that Lauren Southern and Gavin McGinnis were part of, but that died, and it was Rebel Media. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they tried to go to the World Economic Forum and got shut out, and all sorts of stuff happened with
And
Rebel.
then you got who's the real buff guy with the weird teeth? Chris Sky. He's another prominent conservative Canadian that he was doing like man on the street megaphone type stuff and getting arrested for it.
Oh, geez.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Do you think Tom Green, do you think he is right or left leaning at this point? Because he's a farmer out in the middle of nowhere, Canada now.
Oh, he's definitely right leaning.
Yeah, I would think so too.
Yeah.
I wonder if, I would love a 51st and 52nd state popping into the United States. That'd be great. Because I think his is in that area.
I just did like a quick just scanning article headlines. I don't want to be that guy right now, but I'm just getting like the first level of research, and it's apparently Carney was born in Canada, has citizenship to Ireland and maybe the UK also, and is in the process of denouncing his citizenship to other countries. So you can be elected and then denounce it after you're in. I don't know the process in Canada, but
Interesting.
Well, if you're a Canadian citizen, you're still under the crown, so you have citizenship through the crown to Australia, the UK, whatever else they got at this point.
the colonies
But
or whatever.
You can get and you can get citizenship through. So I have Irish citizenship also, and it's through.
That explains
people
this
that
magnificent beard.
It's I have it through people that left during the famine. They came down through Canada, so there's a huge population there. There's some parameters you need to meet to get that naturalization, but if you're able to meet it, it's something just kind of cool to have with, you know, for your family and stuff. But like I have the same opinion. If you're a head of state, that's not an acceptable thing to have. That should not be what we.
If you're in your like, you know, township or kind of like local level stuff, and like, I don't know, like if the people will choose you and elect you, like then that's kind of one thing. But yeah, if you're representing the entire nation on like the national level, I feel like that's kind of sketchy.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. You shouldn't be running any companies.
It is.
You shouldn't hold another office, and you shouldn't be a member of another state, basically. Like that's
100%.
The conflict of interest. Yeah.
That was Obama's. I mean, that was the slam dunk impeachable offense that Obama did, because he was on the UN Security Council without the approval of Congress.
I mean, we've had a lot of different conflict of interest with either presidents or vice presidents that were part of the, CIA or like if you're talking about Halliburton and Dick Cheney, and he was supposed to sever all his ties with that, and he did not. And he basically told people to go pound sand, and like, or if it's secret societies, wherever you've just given your just, you know, loyalties to these other organizations, companies, situations, nations, whatever. Like, it's not like a new thing for us either, really. I think we're just a little more, I don't know, like behind the scenes about it. Like, I don't know.
That was even why for a very long time a lot of Americans were very anti even having a Catholic as president, because there was a lot of fear mongering about, we can't have a president that's more loyal to the Pope than to the United States.
Is this
go down? You should go with the Irish family.
What'd you say, Sean?
There's an Irish family. There's an Irish mafia family, sort of.
What's up, man?
I think it's like 12 families or so that have a substantial amount of influence as well in Western politics. It's more behind the scenes, but like Zane said, there was a big push. Also, we had WASPs in charge forever, so they don't want Catholics, because it's just, I mean, that's the entire reason that the trouble started in Ireland. So that's a big deal. The separation in religion does mean something, because it actually means whether or not the king and or queen in the UK is in control, or if the Pope is in control in Rome, because that's who your head of your religion is going to be. So
yeah.
There we go.
One of the national fights, like this is why the Troubles, started, and why all that stuff happened, and that was a disaster for a few decades.
And we got a great alcoholic beverage out of that whole struggle.
Yeah, which I didn't realize when I was drinking the shit out of those in Savannah that was tied to some
really dark stuff.
I just saw that for St. Patty's Day. People were like, "Oh, don't call it a car bomb." I'm like, "What do I call it?"
Like you don't go into a bar in Southie in Boston and order an Irish car bomb. Your ass will get removed.
Yeah, so, definitely don't do that in Northern Ireland either.
Okay, so really, like, what? I've never heard it called anything else. Like, what? Yeah. Hey, can you put some coffee liqueur in my Guinness, please?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's really weird why we've adopted that over here as a drink, and I didn't realize like what it was referring to and how dark that history was. And I can't, I drank many of them back in the day, and like I can't undo that or whatever, but I do wish they were called something else. It's kind of weird.
I mean, it's amazing how much of that is just part of our culture and we accept it. Like the whole concept of the Dutch uncle, Dutch gold and all that kind of, or going Dutch at a date, like that's
Dutch oven.
That's a result of the Dutch Anglo War. And
Rob, another gentleman with a red beard. Thanks, buddy.
Are we gonna check Sean's brim to see if he's got any blades in it or anything? Just make sure. Can't fight anybody while he's on this show. All right, we're gonna stick on this topic, but we're gonna go to a video that Alden actually put in the Discord this week. That's on this topic. It diverts slightly, but I definitely want to talk about it for a minute.
Canadian rooted, though.
Canadian, yeah.
Political refugee from Iran. I've been to prison. I've been under Islamic law, and I know how it starts and I know how it ends. And it always starts with for some reason, unity of left and Islamists, and it scares me. So I came here to be free. I chose Canada as my second home to live in a free country. And I'm beginning to get really scared, because the way things are going, it looks like they're going to basically appease Islamists just to not raise any ruckus or something. They're just going to appease them step by step, and they're not going to stop. They see it as a sign of weakness, so they're going to take more and more, and I'm against that. I believe Canada should be free, and freedom of speech is something that nobody can take away.
I love the second comment on the right. It says, "Y'all, this is so fake. The Muslims in Iran." Put it back up there. Are not real Muslims. This is BS, and this is called Islamophobia and technically racism.
Oh,
yeah. I think calling people who are Islamic not Islamic is probably in that same category, don't you think? Like,
Racismception. Yeah.
pedal, you know?
I dream of a world where radical Islam just means you're hanging out with them at the skate park.
I would like that world. That'd be a pretty good world.
Right?
Well, it's just interesting. This guy fled Iran, which for good reason, and went to Canada, and now sees the same things happening in Canada that he left Iran for because of. And that should really make, like, I don't know. That should really make you think about what's going on up there, because they absolutely are accepting. I mean, there are massive swaths of Muslims coming into the country up there, and
it was the Chinese back in the 80s. It's not hard to find videos of people in the Canadian Parliament back in the early and the mid 80s talking about this influx of Chinese immigrants, because the whole concept of anchor babies that we are now debating here was a huge issue for them in the early 80s, especially with their free healthcare. China was sending women that were 9 months pregnant on a plane to Canada to go have Canadian citizens. And so, like, they're still a Chinese citizen, and now their kid is a Canadian citizen. And they were exploiting that loophole in their citizenship. And
they're not sending their best.
No, no, they're not. And so now you're seeing it, with the Muslims all over the planet. I mean, we've been seeing it in London, with Sadiq Khan being elected. He's real weak on that issue. And then with, in Paris, I mean, it's called a hijra, people. It's a form of jihad. They don't have to fire a single shot. They just move to your area. You welcome them with open arms, and they outproduce you.
Yeah, one of the strongest arguments I saw against allowing these religions to spread is, like, a Christian nation, or mostly Christian nation, will allow Muslims or any other religion to practice their religion. But if you go to certain Muslim countries and you try to spread the word of God, Christianity, you will be imprisoned, killed, kicked out of the country, all of the above. And I don't know, there's some very complicated, maybe solution, maybe not solution, but it's a difficult topic to discuss, and people get really heated over this stuff as well.
They do get
far more
heated
difficult
about it, and without getting into.
I mean, I think the main problem here, and I don't have any of the stats on this, so I'm open to being proved wrong. But the feeling is that even though, like, the U.S. and a bunch of other places in the West are still a very Christian heritage, the devotion to it is not there. Where it seems like for Islam, the people that are, like, in the culture are still a lot more devout around the religion as well. So I would say the best solution would be a revival in the actual practice of Christianity, instead of just saying, wow, I don't really love it that we're being out reproduced by the Muslims that are moving here.
I think you're partially right. I think it's the version of Christianity as well in the West. And I think what at some point was kind of cracked was the weakness and the downfall of the West is too much empathy. As empathetic as you can be for your neighbors and your community and people that you can actually affect, the general empathy for everyone's condition because of how globalized everything's become. You're allowing people that don't like you into your country. Why would you do that? And if it's just to be nice and to be told you're not racist or you don't like people, like there are people being imported all over the world that do not like us for what we stand for, our value system, and they know it's weak and they know they can take advantage of it. And that's exactly what they're doing.
As an empath, on a personal level, like an anecdotal kind of thing. Like, I had to learn in my own just individual life to not just be blindly trusting of people, and to rein it in a little bit, and to let people kind of earn your loyalties or whatever, or you just get trampled in the world. And
it's also it's
on a national level that can happen too.
Yeah, with Christianity, one of the favorites for people that don't practice to push their immigration policy on people is to say, oh, well, you hate whatever Mexicans or brown people from the southern border, and that's not what Jesus would
goddamn
want,
Mongolians.
right? That's not what Jesus would want. Well, like,
I'm kidding.
there's a lot more stuff in that Bible than just how Jesus would feel about Mexican people or El Salvadorians, or like, it doesn't, it's not a translation like that. And the people that want to take over other countries, people need to look back at how far reaching the Muslim religion was, how far Islam reached into Europe before it was fought back. This has happened already. So it's very naive and very ignorant to assume that everyone leaving those countries that are war-torn countries, which are partially our fault, but
That's fair
to
too, honestly.
assume that they're all going to be peaceful for generations and generations, or they're going to assimilate. Because the thing is, you can look at it, I think, objectively and say the assimilation's not really occurring at a mass level in some of these places, especially in Britain. London is over 50% not British.
Yeah,
that is insane. That is a successful invasion takeover of a country that has been predominantly Anglo-Saxon for centuries. It's like that's not that in any other history book. If you had read that, you would view that as they took it over, because that's what it computes to.
It's the equivalent of having an American Pope. Like, it doesn't happen. It's not ever been seen before. And you can even look in places like Seattle, super liberal bastions here in the States. And so once their population, I don't know exactly what that ratio is. Is it 15%? Is it north of that? I don't know. But once they get to a certain level, they start getting their tenets, their religious tenets, codified into law. And of course, our system allows that as long as it's voted in and no one stands up and says, I don't like this. Because it was a few years ago, I heard in the Seattle area, there's mortgage lenders that are set up for other Muslims that won't charge interest because it's apparently haram to charge interest on a mortgage or a loan.
Yeah.
There's another religion that does the same thing. So the only Christianity also doesn't allow for that, but for some reason, for some reason, it's still happening.
So this is, I think, a more complex issue in Christianity than I think people give it credit for. Like, I know it's become really trad and base to say, oh, it's bad to charge people interest, but it's much more nuanced than that. And I don't need to get into it now because I don't want to sidetrack.
We're gonna have Zane's spiritual podcast. Over
generally speaking, it has been well known for a very long time now that charging interest the way it is a negative impact on society. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to loan people money or whatever, but generally speaking, if you're charging over like 10% interest on things, you're taking advantage of people in a way that are needing, and you create a hole people can't take themselves out of. You put people into generational debt, which is really no different than slavery. So it has long-term repercussions when you do that stuff. And we've been doing it at scale now for, decades in the US and across the world at this point. It doesn't end well. So it is interesting that certain groups will do it, and will allow their in-group not to be partake in it. And then, but again, if you're secular, or if you don't follow those, then you're not in those groups, and they don't feel the need to assist you in that way.
Similar to like CEOs or founders of tech companies not allowing their kids on iPads and iPhones.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go.
They know
Or,
well enough to send them to a tech school.
Cardi B doesn't let her kids listen to Wet Ass Pussy.
Not
good
Go
for
figure.
them.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Alden.
I was just gonna say the one thing I was gonna say before about like the naivete or whatever with this, and like back to the clip that I had shown you, and it reminds me of like Plato's wheel or cycles, like politically, where we've talked about this kind of before, where people are tired of tyranny, and so then they revolt, and then they get something else, and then they get eventually to democracy, and then eventually you vote for tyranny. Right. Because you have enough generational gap between, you don't have the memory of, so it can be across time, like in your own country or era, where you don't remember the time when the times were really hard. You don't remember that style of government didn't serve you well. And it can also be across, borders in this world that we live in now, where there can be people in like the West that'll welcome someone from another situation or welcome a policy or welcome something else. And it truly maybe comes from a good place, but it could be through naivete that we do this and introduce something that might bite us and remind us in a way something that we haven't faced in our either country or time in a long while. Honestly, some of the hardships that follow some of these choices. So
there we go.
Yeah, so I promise this will be really quick because I know you want to move on. But I was reading a really interesting collection of articles put out by the Mises Institute called Nation, Migration, and Trade, where it is essentially thinking about how should libertarians think about borders and having countries. And, even Mises argues that the basis for having a country, if you're going to say there's a legitimate basis for it, is everybody would need to agree that they want to be in this group that is all being governed by the same entity. And the only way that really works is if everybody culturally is pretty much on the same page. Like, you would only ever actually agree to be governed by an entity that you think, everybody is in agreement on the most important facts of worldview and culture. Like, you would never agree to possibly be dominated by somebody that has a completely different culture than you. And would
he's wrong because diversity is our strength, guys. It's our strength, and it will see us through.
And so for that reason, Mises, points out that it's actually legit for countries to have standards of immigration of who they're going to be let in, because when you let somebody into your country, you're essentially saying, yes, I'm agreeing for you to have political influence over how I have to live, which is really crazy when you see what's happening with places like London or other places in Europe where they're actually like codifying Sharia law, which the progressives have to completely tie themselves into pretzels to justify this, because I don't know if you are aware of this, but Sharia law is one of the most illiberal, anti-progressive sets of laws that humanity has ever created. And so but they've got to be okay with it because under their worldview, Muslims are in the oppressed minority class, and so whatever they
can't women drive cars now over there? So it should be fine.
So whatever the Muslims want to do, they have to be allowed to do, and it has to be good because they're an oppressed minority. But they forget that not all oppressed minorities always get along, and actually Muslims like to do a lot of oppression of their own. So there's a lot of contradictions here.
You have to have a natural pattern of assimilation to continue your culture and your country. And once you disrupt that natural pattern of assimilation, it starts to fall apart. You're going to get different, and it's going to be a cyclical problem, like you'd said, but you can't import too many people that are unable to assimilate as a group into that country if there's too many distinct differences. So like back with like Ellis Island stuff, you had people that were the same religion coming over, so you didn't have religious conflicts. You had conflicts of where they're coming from, their heritage, but it wasn't religious in nature. So their ideological views were still from the Bible. They were rooted in the same place. But once you have too many different kinds of people living in the same place, like you said, under the same government, it doesn't function because certain groups don't care. They're not going to follow the laws. It's like coming to the U.S. If you come in legally through our terrible immigration system that is extremely hard to get through and extremely limiting, it's still the people that get through that process actually want to be Americans. And that's a good thing. We should want people that want to be American. But if you're going to come here and take our tax money and go, those guys are a joke, I'm going to send this back home for a few years and I'm going to collect. That's not someone that wants to be an American and live here and function well and be a part of society. That's kind of where I break off on some of the immigration stuff. That it's not the most libertarian point of view, but I don't think it functions. I think it's a philosophical idea. It's parts of libertarian stuff that's reached its endpoint, and they've done a good job of outlaying where things could go. But you bring in the cycles of civilization, the immigration patterns, things like that. There are serious considerations that you have to have, and it doesn't really function too well after a certain amount of time. It's very difficult. Even languages. So it's tough. You have to have a country that functions well under one house. Everyone's moving in the same direction. Otherwise, you get what we have now, which is, I mean, we have people that are just straight communists at this point that don't like the way our country functions, and they want to change the entire system, not just the thing here and there. It's the whole thing.
No, but fundamentally, yeah.
Which, oddly enough, the one group in Canada that's not going to put up with this crap is the Sikhs, who are like the most peaceful, friendly people you've ever met in your life. And you put some radical Muslims in a Sikh neighborhood, and it ain't gonna fly.
And you get Seeks and Destroy.
All right. Well, we're gonna pray for the Sikhs and hope they come out on top. We're gonna keep our eye on what's happening up in Canada and see what Carney has up his sleeve over the next few years. So we'll keep an eye on that. But for now, we're gonna move on to a very short topic. Go ahead and pop it up there, Zach. A new bill was introduced preventing elected leaders from owning securities and investments, and they called it the Pelosi Act. Which is, I mean, trolling somebody who's going to be voting on it is pretty stinking hilarious to me.
That is so funny.
Senator Hawley from Missouri introduced it. Whoa. This was introduced in 2023. Why is it? Why are people just now posting about this?
He probably put it back in the docket. Because that's probably when it was originated. And if there's anybody that's going to mop the floor against Austin Peterson in a race, I'm happy it's this guy, not Gary Johnson.
That's fair.
I mean, that is a sense of humor. I feel like I don't know anything about this person, and yet I already like him just because of this.
Right,
that is great.
He's definitely doing us proud. He shows some libertarian slants from time to time, and Austin Peterson has even said, he's like, of all the people I've lost to, he's like, Josh Hawley is one of the coolest.
Well, before that takes place, if y'all want to make a few quick bucks, go ahead and throw it up there, Zach. You can go over to, you can download an app called Autopilot where you can invest like a politician, and you can invest based on Pelosi. You can invest based on all sorts of people, but I would advise heavily on investing like Nancy Pelosi.
Hey, I'll give you a heads up though. Pelosi habitually pays the fees for late reporting on her trades. So she does take a lot of losses, and where most of her gains are in, going long on something, betting on it going up. But where she takes her losses, she will habitually pay the fees to not disclose losses. So because she's aware that people follow her. Yeah. And because, I mean, she's aware of this. So she'll buy something, she'll report the purchase of the stock. Other people buy it. She pulls out or just takes a huge hit, fails to report that, pays the fee on that. How many kickbacks is she getting from the owner of that company? So that's another angle to consider on that stuff. If you really want to follow trades, look at that homeboy out from California, Rokana. That guy is high volume.
Or don't trade and just buy Bitcoin, like I say every dadgum time.
Yeah, who cares about increasing the capital stock? No need to invest in anything.
Nope, just buy Bitcoin, y'all. That's all you got to do. You'll thank me later. All right. I told you I was going to be a quick one.
If you buy Bitcoin, ammo, and peanut butter, I think you're just set for life.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's good diversity of your portfolio, Alden. I love a portfolio that you can eat part of.
Yeah, you eat your ammunition? That's weird.
Yeah, it is weird. All right, here we go.
I am not fucking drunk.
Well, 19th through blue.
Every pretty girl deserves to go to a ball.
This is everything about it's a clam. I love it.
I gotta be honest with you, I feel like I'm a little bit too drunk to stand up.
On Wiedersehen, asshole.
I'm drunk right now.
All right, drunkard of the week. We're just going to launch right into it. Pretty self-explanatory.
Sit next to this thing.
No worries. I'm going to go speak to the captain.
Please speak to the captain. Please.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
sorry. Oh my God, he's assaulting me. I knew it. All these maggots, you just hit me.
Oh my God.
Please call the medic. I need a medic right away.
I didn't do it. I just reported it. I didn't do it.
I need a medic right now.
She's crazy.
He assaulted me.
Calm down, okay? We have a solution. I did speak to the captain, and he does agree that nobody should be in expedition for it. So we do have a seat available in first class. Sir, if you want to come with me, I'm going to escort you to first class. Okay, ma'am, you are welcome.
Nice. You're doing the wrong thing right now. You're doing the wrong thing. You know what? You don't know who I am. You don't know who I am, but you are going to get the worst reviews, and I feel like you're going to be grounded for a long time. This is your fault.
Oh
I don't even think you talked to the captain. Get this maggot out of my way. Get out of here, maggot.
Oh my God.
Maggot.
Leader, I want him now. All right.
Maggot's pretty good.
Now.
That is
you think I am.
Wow.
Yeah, once every 3 years, the lids do come up with a good tag, and maggot is a pretty hard hitting one.
Maggot is fantastic. That's the only good thing to come out of that video, other than Drunkard of the Week. Happened on a flight recently, and
I love that this other guy gets bumped up to first class. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's the freaking best.
When does the
That's hard to
Canadian
watch.
government add? When do they add TDS to the assisted suicide list of conditions?
There you go.
Delta Fish says that's me around MAGA too. Okay, that's fair. That's fair, Delta Fish. All right, y'all. We're actually going to skip ahead and then come back to our third topic here in a bit. So, Zane, you ready for some trivia, my man?
Oh, shoot. I forgot to upload it.
Well, while you upload it, I'm going to play the shortest intro for trivia ever.
There we go.
There we go.
All right, it's loading up now.
There we go. Beautiful.
Oh, where'd Steven go?
Do people that where
did I go?
No, that's
Where did I go?
that's my bad. I did 4-person trivia, not 5-person trivia. That's my fault.
Do people that do this whole like charade thing, like the act on the plane, like this woman did, like, do they believe that other people will believe that they're being assaulted, or do they believe themselves that they are being assaulted? Like,
they have a mental
going on
Well,
here?
that guy is fortunate that somebody was recording it, because my advice to anybody would be never even act like you're about to touch anybody else, because that's what's going to happen.
That's honestly fair.
You want to avoid any possibility of anyone being able to claim that you assaulted them or were about to touch them in any way.
Right.
Some quack says they're considering Amtrak to Grand Rapids at this point. Although some quack, you still need your passport or a real ID to get on an Amtrak. So, you know.
All right, everyone. Welcome to another week of Libations Trivia. As usual, I've got trivia in 3 rounds. Round 1, 8 questions, 1 point each. Round 2, 6 questions, 2 points each. Round 3, 4 questions, 3 points each. Our contestants here will answer by writing their response on a whiteboard. Audience.
Hang on, Zane.
I didn't know that.
Did you know this? It's either a whiteboard or a piece of paper.
Piece of paper is
You
fine.
just want to go snag a piece of paper or something.
You can
we
Sharpie it on your
changed the
forehead.
layout
That's fine.
since you were here last.
Audience, in accordance with our recent rule change, we will be taking the first audience answer that isn't obviously a joke.
Jackie Chan counts.
So
That's
you
an
can
honest
never have a question where the answer is Jackie Chan now, Zane.
I just watched with my
All right.
nephew the Jackie Chan reboot of Karate Kid. It was okay. That's
So
pretty good.
I do have to admit that I wrote this week's trivia before listening to last week's episode.
Oh.
And so Round 1, we've got some more haikus. Round 2 is Mayday, and we have got a return of a category about popes.
So this is going to be to
Alden
see if I
talked on
retained anything from last week.
And I actually had to rewrite one of the questions because one of the questions was the exact same as the one that Jake had asked.
What was the repeat?
Well, I'll mention it when we get there.
Oh, okay.
All right, round
Nice.
1. Haikus.
Haikus again.
Question 1. Second quarterback taken during this year's draft. Appropriate name.
Dadgummit. I only remember the first quarterback.
I know 2 quarterbacks in this draft, and that's
Me
it.
too.
The first one and the one who didn't go first.
Yeah, right. Right.
No idea.
10 seconds.
It's been too long since I played fantasy football. My brain melted. I have no memory of anything football right now.
2, 1. All right.
All right, Sean.
Nothing.
Jake.
Like another.
I just said young.
Alden.
Jackie Chan.
Steven.
I just said it's wrong, but Sanders.
There we go.
Audience doesn't look like it has anything.
No.
Hannah, where you at?
This is Jackson Dart.
Okay.
Dart.
What team
Jackson
drafted in?
He went to the Giants.
Huh.
All right.
Question
Why'd they do
2.
that? The quarterback situation is so good.
Famous Southern chef taped saying the no-no word was thusly canceled.
Alden, you better know this one, man.
Yeah.
Was taped saying the no-no word.
The no-no word. 10 seconds. 5,
I don't know how to
4,
spell it. But
3, 2, 1.
Sean.
I don't remember her name.
Jake says Paula Dean.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, dang it. I said stale cracker.
Audience says Paula Dean.
There you go.
It is Paula Dean.
Okay.
I spelled it right.
Question 3. Richard Gere attends aviation training school in this 80s film.
It's Richard Gere.
Richard Gere. Yeah.
Zane.
I should have looked that up before the show.
Richard Gere. Everybody
just shows how
Gere,
young you are,
Zane. Yeah.
Yeah.
Richard Gere.
Aviation training school. 10 seconds. Three, 2, 1.
Sean.
I don't think this is right.
I said the same thing, Sean.
Alden.
9/11 Top Gun.
Top Gun.
Everyone's
Boom.
favorite movie.
Officer and a gentleman, says the
Dang it.
It is an
Yeah.
officer and a gentleman.
Headgummit. Good job, Delta Fish.
Nice.
Question 4. U.S. physicist made this diagram to show particle movement.
Those are pubes. Those are balls.
Looks like cubes coming out of a uterus, doesn't it?
U.S. physicist.
Yep.
I don't know. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Sean.
I'm taking a guess here at somebody that
Higgs.
Einstein.
Einstein, the U.S. physicist. Jackie Chan.
Steven.
Terrence Howard.
That's pretty funny.
You've got your master's in teriology.
That's right.
I'm pretty far down the conspiracy rabbit hole train, and the stuff that he says, I'm like, what is he talking about?
He says he solved like the world's problems or something with his last post.
it all starts 1 times 1 is 2. where it all starts. And when you go from there, it makes perfect sense.
This is
You have to be really high, I think.
Richard Feynman.
It was on the tip of my dick.
Well, and speaking of, particle physics gives me a hadron.
Collider? I barely know her.
Question 5. Ancient region name, home to Sumer and others, means between rivers.
10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Sean.
Oh, that's a good.
Says
Yeah,
Mesopotamia.
probably.
Yeah.
Steven.
That's way better.
I got it wrong.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Mesopotamia.
Yeah.
Gang, gang.
I didn't go far enough back.
Question 6. Rapper from Texas. His Astro World Festival saw 10 people crushed.
10, 9.
Oh, that's
8,
so fast.
10, 9, 8.
Researching this question made me realize how much I
5,
love the phrase mass
4,
casualty incident.
3, 2,
There's something,
1.
Maybe something wrong with you then.
Sean. ASAP Rocky. Jake.
Dang it.
I said Post Malone.
That's who I was trying to think of the name. I said
Post
Tat
Malone's-
Face Guy because I couldn't think of Post Malone.
David Banner. Shout out to Houston.
The audience said Travis Scott.
Zach got it.
Yeah, it's Travis Scott.
God
Oh, okay.
damn it.
Yep.
I
You
know
sure
it
it's not
wasn't
Tat
Post
Face Guy?
Malone. I know it wasn't Post
Is
Malone.
Post Malone from Texas though?
Yeah.
That okay. So at least I had that right, that part. But
I love Post.
Question 7. Western author of Riders of the Purple Sage. My parents are fans. And you might think that that's an irrelevant piece of information, but it's actually not.
okay.
My parents are fans. So is it like a brand of fan, like Hampton Bay?
10 seconds.
It's Honeywell.
5, 4,
Better guess than I
3,
got.
2, 1.
Sean. Jake.
I put John.
Alden.
Mark Twain, obviously.
Steven.
Isaac Asimov.
Zane Grey.
Watch
Yeah,
it be
this is-
Hampton Bay.
This is where my parents got the name.
Okay.
See,
Now
I was
I get
thinking
it.
actual fans. It's not. Yeah. Okay.
Not only am I not good at trivia, but I'm not good at trivia in haiku form now, which is good to know.
Right.
You can just add that, yeah, just an addendum to the not good at trivia portion here.
Question 8. 4-syllable word. Opposite of evergreen. Describes elm and birch.
I got you, homie.
I thought we were done with the haikus. I was like excited to move on.
Ten seconds.
I don't know how to spell this either. I don't know how to spell, apparently.
I don't know how to spell it either.
I went to art
5,
school, so.
4, 3, 2, 1. And I already know I got it wrong.
Sean. Jake.
Like he's just so good at cigar.
You said perennial.
I couldn't remember if it was that or if it was the deciduous, so I did deciduous.
Steven?
I also did deciduous.
It looks like it's deciduous.
Shit, good for you guys.
It is.
I'm not up on my
Yeah.
trees.
I definitely spelled it wrong. So, all right.
All right, round 2. Mayday.
No,
Now it's round 2.
your brain, man. That's got nothing to do with YouTube.
At the end of round 1, we've got the audience in the lead with 6. Jake, Alden, and Steven all tied with 2.
Oh,
Hey.
good job, Sean.
That's a rough round 1.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Welcome to Zane's trivia.
that's right.
I thought last time I was on, we dumbed down the trivia for everybody else. What happened to that?
Wait, did we do that? I don't remember.
No.
Yeah,
Now we make people
that kinda
feel
went
dumb
away.
with trivia. Yeah.
last time I was on, Zane wasn't doing trivia because he was kicking everyone's ass, and now you guys gave him the keys to the questions.
Right.
Yeah, that's because he was kicking everybody's ass.
Yeah. Now he kicks our ass a different way. Yeah.
It got zany after that.
Question 1. The traditional European festival of May Day often involves dancing in a circle around what object?
What?
My dick. Sorry.
There was such a long pause before I said it. I think
I was debating whether to say it or not. Yeah. I'm
all right.
one rum screwdriver and half a chelada in, and I decided to say it.
Go ahead, Zane.
Sean?
It's not right. It's half right.
The ribbon rod.
Jake?
Oh, I said pyre.
Alden?
The maypole.
Steven?
I'm going to harken back to my days of Brooks Elementary here, and I'm saying a tetherball pole, baby.
Zach says a pole like Alden's mom. Delta Fish says Alden's dick.
Oh, God.
This is, in fact, the maypole. I will give
Oh,
half
wonderful.
credit to Sean for at least getting the pole.
Oh, I have
right.
half of that's not better than 0. I don't.
No,
Well,
you got 1 point because it's
Yeah,
I have
half.
half of a point.
No, because that question
Half of
was
a 2-point question.
Oh, I got 1. All right.
Yeah,
You're
you're
on
on the
board, you're on
board.
the board.
Ron.
You're on the board.
Celebrate.
Whole
All right, I'll take
integer.
one. I'll take a
Yeah.
full 1.
You will take a
Question.
full one.
Question 2. In 1889, the International Workers' Congress designated May 1st as International Workers' Day to commemorate the anniversary of what labor demonstration? It had taken place in Chicago 3 years prior and notoriously ended in a bombing.
Oh, fun.
10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Sean?
Nope.
Jake?
I said communism.
Well, you're right, but that's not what I was looking
I said
for. Alden?
union.
I know it's communism. I didn't know what the day was.
I said Chicago riots.
Hannah says the Women's March. Trumpy says Ferguson. Some quack says Newsies.
This is the Haymarket affair.
That's not as good as all these other answers.
Yeah, all the other answers were better than that.
Okay.
We're rewriting history. I like these other ones better.
Yeah.
Question 3. May Day, a short story set during the May Day riots of 1919, was included in the collection Tales of the Jazz Age by what author? The collection also included his other story, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
I have no idea who wrote
I was
this.
wondering when I was going to recognize a single word of that. Fucking
I
what?
hated that movie.
I don't know. I have no idea.
5,
You know
It
what?
is an author that you will know.
2, 1.
No way.
Jake.
No way. I said the same thing, Sean.
Dude.
Planes.
We've got,
got
two
two
into
Mark
the
Twains.
Mark Twain,
Two
another
bad
Jackie Chan. Man.
And another Mark
Yeah.
Twain.
No, this is F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah.
He wrote Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
I
Yeah.
did not know that.
He needs to write better books. That one sucked.
Question 4.
Oh, Jesus.
What was the lead single from this album? In a nod to the band's anarcho-communist politics, the deluxe edition of the album also included the song Mayday.
Dadgummit. Why can I not remember this song? I gotta take the headphones off.
I get knocked down, but I get up again, and you're never gonna keep me down.
I can't remember
get
the
knocked
song.
down, but I get up again.
Kissing
Drinking the night away.
Yeah.
Kissing the night away.
3, 2, 1.
Sean.
All I can hear is the song in my head. I can't think of it.
Jake.
I just said whiskey drink.
Alden.
Your mom.
Oh, dadgummit, I know what it is.
Steven.
You do?
Tub thumping.
Yes! Tub thumping.
Now that's what I call music.
Hannah says it's like thump
It's like
something.
thump something. Yeah.
Quack says thumbleplate. Thumbleplate.
Now that's what I call music, volume 2.
No.
All right, I'll give Jake and the audience half points.
Yay!
You can give it to Jake. I don't care. He got it.
Question 5. Pilots use the distress signal Mayday to communicate to air traffic control that they have a life-threatening emergency. What other phrase indicates that the pilot has an urgent problem, but one that does not rise to the level of Mayday?
Ten, 9. 7. Sorry, the audience said diarrhea.
April. That is great. That's a legendary answer.
Not going to be funny anymore.
Jesus Christ.
All right,
Well,
go ahead, John. What do you got?
Mine's not as good as that.
I've got Houston. We have a problem.
That's what I wrote, which is so stupid, but yeah, that's
That's it.
exactly what I wrote.
Breaker 19.
Breaker 19, good one.
Yeah.
Delta Fish says, "Oh shit."
Yeah, that's a good one.
Now the actual answer is going to come up as really boring because it's a pan.
Oh,
Pan.
God.
What does that even mean?
Yeah, that's a deadpan answer right there.
It comes from the French word for a breakdown.
April. It's the French.
Question
French
6.
word for it.
The 2018
Okay.
signal Mayday was released by what German DJ who is also the composer of the Libations trivia theme music?
Oh no.
What?
Oh. Three, two,
Mike.
1.
Sean.
I'm not going to write what I wanted to write on this, and I don't have an answer, so no.
Jake.
The Fat Rat.
Alden.
I thought it was something like Rat Pack Unity or some shit.
Steven.
My instinct said Avicii, but my hand said Fat Rat.
It is the Fat Rat.
Oh.
There we go. The name of the song is Unity, Alden.
Oh, okay.
And this song actually does have lyrics, by the way. We just don't use that part.
Unity.
All right. At the end of round 2, I've got the audience with 11. Steven was 6. Jake was 5. Alden was 4. And Sean was 1.
Nice. We're all
Anybody's
on the board.
game.
Still anybody's game. Sean, if you get all 4 right and no one else gets an answer, you win.
I've just been waiting. Oh, Popes, yeah, absolutely.
Alden's not going to get a single one, so you got.
No, I don't know.
All right. Question 1 is the question that I had to rewrite. The symbol on the flag of Vatican City refers to Matthew 16:19, in which Jesus tells Peter that he will give him what specific objects? This phrase also names a behind-the-scenes tour of one of the Disney World parks. This question originally was asking for St. Peter as the first pope, but then Jake took it, so I couldn't ask that
Jesus
anymore.
tells Peter that what specific objects?
I'm going wild ass out of my booty hole guess here. I have no idea.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Sean?
No, I don't even know where to start with that. No.
Yeah, nah.
Jake?
I said fish and bread.
Alden?
Loaves and fishes. I said keys to the kingdom.
Steven?
Oh, I said, where is it? There we go. Armor of God.
Loaves and bitches.
Pretty sure it's
Fish.
not that.
Lots of fish. Delta Fish said keys to heaven.
The kingdom.
I'm going to give the audience 1 point because the answer is the keys to the kingdom, also known as the keys to the kingdom of heaven.
Oh my god, I got it?
So
Yep.
Alden gets it.
Oh my god, I got it. Wow.
Yeah, those things on the flag are the keys.
Yeah, keys. Yeah.
I saw. Nah, whatever.
Question 2. Which of the following papal names has been used by the most popes? So we've got Calixtus, Innocent,
Lord.
Sixtus, and Urban.
Keith Urban has entered the chat.
Keys Urban.
Is there a rural?
There are no popes
Rural,
named Rural.
urban fervor.
The rural juror.
Rural juror. Urban fervor.
It's the judicial system.
3, 2, 1.
Sean.
Urban.
Jake says Urban.
Sextus.
Steven says
Innocent. Yep.
And the answer is Innocent with 13 popes.
Dadgummit.
Penis.
Urban has 8, Sixtus has 5, and Calixtus has 3. And I really I really want the next pope to adopt the papal name Sixtus the Sixth, because that would be really fun.
Yeah, y'all. Hannah hasn't been around for trivia since we changed the rules. So Hannah, we only accept the first answer that the audience.
Be faster,
gives
Hannah.
now. So it's whoever's fastest gets the answer. That is
Actually,
correct.
Hannah, if you have the right answer, be slower.
Question 3. What voting threshold is needed for a papal conclave to elect a new pope?
I don't even know what that means.
Just watched Conclave. Dadgummit.
I heard it was bad.
It was heretical and boring.
I heard it was Pope related, so yes.
Hannah says that leaves no room for jokes. We will accept jokey guesses if you at the beginning. But
Specifically, the rule is the first non-joke answer is the
If it's
one
an
that we
obvious joke, then you win.
5,
Essentially.
4, 3, 2, 1.
take. Sean. 3/4. Jake.
2/3.
Alden.
69.
Steven.
There you go. I said 51% and white smoke.
Oh, the audience says unanimous, which is interesting, but the answer is 2/3.
I almost did 66, and then I was like, I'm going to make it 69 just for fun. And I should have done
They
66.
use Robert's rules to elect popes. That's weird.
I saw a video of a bunch of cardinals walking around one of the buildings, all wearing both their pectoral crosses and like these really cheesy laminated like lanyards.
It's a pectoral
It's very
cross.
strange. Those like cross necklaces
On
that
the
they all wear.
chest?
Hannah says her jokes are too nuanced and layered to be immediately identified as jokes.
And Jordan
Yeah, this is the
Peterson is
wrong-
looking for a neighbor to have outrage for the prime minister.
Wrong podcast for that, I guess.
Question 4. Before becoming Pope, Francis was the Archbishop of what South American capital city?
Dang it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Sean.
I can't think of it.
Jake.
I know it's South America, but I can't
I
think
think
of
it's
it.
Rio de Janeiro.
Alden.
That's what I said, Rio. Yeah.
Steven.
I'm really just trying for like half credit here. I just said Argentina, commie.
No,
Yeah.
they have it.
You're right. It's Argentina.
Buenos Aires, yeah. Man.
It is Buenos Aires.
Yeah.
Which means that at the end of trivia, we've got Sean with 1, Alden with 7, Jake with 8, Steven with 9, and the audience winning with 15.
7, 8, 9.
God damn, we're never gonna beat them.
Why was 6 afraid of 7?
Because 7, 8, 9, baby.
Oh, the pain,
Jesus,
the pain. There we go. All right, everybody. Thank y'all for playing Libations Trivia. We're now going to go back in time to talk about UFOs from the 1970s, which, if the actual intro to this episode had been played, which it wasn't, you would have seen that the third topic was Zane's favorite UFO. That's what we called it, because Zane loves talking about UFOs, and we're going to give him the lead on this one. So,
perfect.
Zach, go ahead and put it up there, man. In a declassified CIA document from 1976, UFOs turned people to stone.
Wow, just like Medusa.
U.S. intelligence obtained a 250-page file on the attack by a UFO on a military unit in Siberia. The file contains not only many documentary photographs and drawings, but also testimonies by actual participants in the event. UFO appeared above a training unit. Soldiers fired missiles at it. It retaliated with a blinding beam of light and instantly petrified 23 troops. Only 2 soldiers who stood in the shade and were less exposed to the luminous explosion survived. We don't have to read this whole daggum thing. It's like, well, I guess it's 3 more. KGB report goes on to say that the remains of the UFO and the petrified soldiers were transferred to a secret scientific research institute near Moscow. A source of energy that is still unknown instantly changed the structure of the soldiers into a substance whose molecular composition is no different than that of limestone.
Sounds biblical.
Yes. After Mikhail Gorbachev dissolved in... Wait.
After he dissolved.
What? In 1991, the KGB Top Secret Intelligence Administration... Oh my gosh, that is the most poorly written sentence. After Mikhail Gorbachev dissolved the KGB in 1991, a lot of material from that department found
went to the CIA.
abroad, in particular to the CIA. So this is one of 2 UFOs we're going to just briefly touch on. But I want to know if Alden or Steven had ever heard of this particular.
I have not heard of it.
Wait, I thought you said that I got the lead on this.
Okay,
one.
fine. Zane, you get the lead. What do you got to say?
Zane, have you heard of this? Yeah.
So I'm just going to say that a lot of Soviet documents are fake. So
Thank you for
What
playing.
a party pooper that is. Jeez.
That is great. Sean, what? Gosh. Sean, do you dabble in UFOs or aliens? Or
yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Have you heard of this particular one?
Not one of turning soldiers to stone. I haven't heard of that before.
Neither.
I think if it's close to limestone, that's an interesting similarity to, I don't know, structures. So who knows? That's kind of an odd one. I haven't heard of that one before. There are a lot of weird Soviet UFO stories from that time period. The Soviets obviously have all kinds of weird tech at that time. I mean, the UFOs are interesting. It's an interesting topic. So it's kind of an odd one, though. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not like just straight radiation or something, because that doesn't just turn you to stone. So you're changing like molecular level shit. That's an interesting one. I don't know.
In Soviet Russia, UFOs don't believe in Zane.
I try not to speak too much to things that I have no knowledge of or whatever. Like, and
Are you
I
sure
have
about
literally
that?
never heard of this.
Shut your mouth, Zane.
Very funny.
It is interesting, like, because they were doing a whole bunch of experiments and trying to get into different technological advances and stuff like that during the Soviet time period. And they did report a ton of UFO sightings, which seemed to happen to us when we started developing the atomic bomb and things like that. And so I don't know, it doesn't prove anything, but it is fun to entertain, Zane. If you wanted to have fun at one point in your life, you could entertain it. Just saying. Okay.
No.
Wait, hold on.
Was I supposed to respond to that? Like,
I guess not. John, go ahead.
I get a question for Zane, who's anti-Russian UFO stories from the Cold War. What do you, going back to more biblical stuff, because we've touched on it a few times, what do you think of the wheel within a wheel that Ezekiel saw? Is that a UFO, or is that a what do you think that something like that is? Because there are biblical accounts of interesting flying objects, so it's actually a new phenomenon.
Oh, and in the Bhagavad Gita and many other
there's
historical
a lot of them.
Yeah, so I have to admit, it has been a while since I've read Ezekiel, but it's my understanding that with a lot of these prophetic visions, it's not really that the claim is that they were seeing physical objects, is that they were seeing a vision from the spirit of things that weren't like actually tangible. So I'm not sure if that it was like a physical wheel made out of material substance.
Right.
Yeah, Zach says maybe it's a mistranslation. They got stoned.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I mean that's the theory with Moses in the burning bush. That was an acacia bush, and it got him high on DMT, and he saw stuff. So
Jesus could be a mushroom. We don't really know for sure.
No, I'm gonna say he wasn't a mushroom. I'm gonna put my foot down on that one.
There's that whole weird thing with not Terrence Howard, we just said that Terrence McKenna or whatever, where he had the whole trip where he was like communing with mushrooms, and the mushroom is telling him this whole crazy story about its existence across the galaxies and shit or whatever, and that the mycelium race was like this panspermia, like ancient race that contains the wisdom of the universe and some crazy ass shit. Anyway.
I will add to that, as weird as that sounds, mushrooms are the third animal kingdom. They are completely
they're not a planet
on Earth, and they're able to survive space.
Spores.
The spores.
Yeah.
So like they very
protected.
well could be the only thing on the planet that is actually alien to Earth.
Yeah. No, I mean I'm not saying it's not true.
And they are the largest organism on the planet, because you do have that.
They are.
What is the aspen trees in Utah, Colorado? There's a fungus that unites that entire root ball, and it covers like a third of our country.
Yeah.
There's also theories of,
and if you guys,
human development, actually taking mushrooms and things like that, opening up your conscious space through generations and generations of eating.
Ape theory.
The stoned ape theory.
Yeah,
Literally hunting animals and eating the mushrooms that grow off their shit to survive until you can kill the animal. We have thousands and thousands of years of people unknowingly tripping on mushrooms just so they don't die. So it's an odd theory, but I don't think it's as out there as it sounds right from the get-go.
No, and who else could think of the concept of a casino? Right?
What?
Talking about the Indians, right? Following animals around to hunt them.
I missed where that was going.
Hang on, let's bring up the second one. This has a little bit more proof behind it, Zane, just for you.
Okay, I'll be the judge of that.
In 1971, Arctic Ocean UFO incident taken by the U.S. Navy. So these are actual photographs from the event. You can scroll forward. We're just looking at some photos here.
There you go.
The Nazis were down there. They're not the UFOs in Antarctica.
Well, in 1971, they're ours by now. They worked for us by then.
Look, that thing's pretty wild right there. Whatever that is. What's the last one? Yeah. That just kind of looks like a submarine breaching at 600 knots. But the others were interesting. Go back to one where it's floating above the water. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, it's that cigar-shaped object that's been reported.
See, I've just never seen these pictures. I thought I would have seen them.
I haven't seen these either, actually.
70s. Yeah, I thought this was a super interesting one.
I mean, look, if you're gonna hide something, if you can hide it in the ocean, that's where you hide it. I mean, everything else on land can be found or viewed.
It's the least explored.
Well, I don't know about that because when I was 14, I went on a business trip with my dad. He worked for, I forget the company he worked for, but he was going around to military bases, and they had like pallets of transformers in certain areas for him, and he was testing the transformers for PCBs, which PCBs is one of the PFAS chemicals, polychlorinated biphenyls.
Oh, I thought you were saying PCP.
No, PCBs. It's god awful stuff for the environment, but it's what used to like literally power our grid.
Yeah,
perfect.
And so they started decommissioning that stuff in the early '80s, and then so I was 14. It was 99, 2000. That era, and we went to a place that I later found out is Area 52, out in Nevada, and we're out in the middle of damn nowhere. I mean, middle of nowhere. Just in the desert, miles and miles and miles of nothing, and then all of a sudden we get flanked by 10 Suburbans, and they corral us. Hey, who are you? What are you doing here? And he's like, holds his badge. Hey, I'm so and so. I'm with this company. I'm here to test, for PCB. Oh, cool. Follow us. And then we start going, 90 miles an hour for the next 20 minutes, and then we take a turn. We go downhill. And we go to this weird opening. And there it is. It's all the stuff. He's like, hey, stay in the truck. I'm like, all right. Meanwhile, like 14-year-old me, I'm in this truck. I'm running the camcorder too. I'm filming stuff. And, some guy walks up with a rifle, taps on the window, and goes, hey, stop that.
Yeah. I don't like that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, you're not going to get away with that as a 14-year-old.
Oh, I've still got the VHS tape. It's weird.
Nice.
That's wild.
Yeah, I watched it again. I mean, because I'm back in my childhood home. Mom died in 2020, and I watched the old a lot of VHS tapes we had, and that was one of them. And that whole trip out west, that was one in particular. Looking back at it now, because like now there's conspiracy stuff coming out all over the place. Talking about Area 52 was really where the freaky stuff was happening, not Area 51.
And S4
and I'm watching a lot of the stuff like on these conspiracy videos. I'm like, I've been there. Like, yeah, it is weird. And we've seen things. We saw things while we were driving out there, like the TR-3B, the triangular shaped aircraft, with the light in the middle of it. Yeah, I saw that flying around.
That's weird.
14 years old. That was 26 years ago.
Wow.
So, yeah.
What do you think about that, Zane?
Okay, so
Zane hates all of this so much.
I think that the world is very strange and wonderful, and there are a lot of things that are going on that are very hard to explain that we don't understand. I think that people want so badly to understand what's happening that they will see something that they don't understand and say, well, the only possible explanation for this is that it's a UFO. And I'm not definitively saying that it's not, but I'm saying that the threshold of evidence required for me to believe that it is very high and has yet to be reached by anything that I've seen so far.
I actually want to take this moment to highlight something where you said you're using the term UFO as if it is synonymous with aliens, and a UFO is just, I don't know what the fuck it is, and it's in the air. It's an unidentified flying object. It actually doesn't have to be assigned to anything. It's literally just a term for an unknown physical phenomenon.
Yeah, that's fair.
So you're actually assuming by assigning it to some other, specific thing that it's like whatever you're aligning it with, aliens or whatever, a lot of the time, it truly is just a way to say, I don't fucking have an answer for it. And it can just remain a question mark, and that's okay. I don't have to, like, know what it is. I can just put it in the category of I don't know what the fuck it is. Like,
yeah,
Alden's right, Zane. You're really just assuming the gender of the flying object in the sky, and we can't do that without asking it what it actually identifies as.
Yeah,
right. I bet it identifies as an attack helicopter. But anyway,
which is what I did for my college transcripts, by the way.
Yes.
At the time in 2018, there were 38,000 of us in the States, and I was one of them.
So, Alden, I guess you're technically right, but I think the vast majority of the time that the term UFO gets used, including used on this show, the implication is that it's something to do with an alien civilization. And even if that's not the claim, I mean, a lot of the explanations I have seen for this stuff is it might not be an object at all. It might just be how the light is bouncing off the clouds or like bouncing off of water droplets or something.
Sometimes that's true. Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of strange things, we talked about this last week, and I'm going to preview it. We're going to actually show the full trailer for this thing. Okay. This is the telepathy tapes. I'm in episode 7 or 8 at this point. I cannot recommend this enough. My wife was annoyingly right yet again. And so, so we're going to watch.
Is this the show that explains how Zane can read our minds or something?
Pretty much. Yeah. How all libertarians actually, not just men. So here's the trailer for the telepathy tapes. We can discuss it for a moment, and then we're going to go to the funny stuff, and then we're going to get out of here.
My son said to me, I can hear thoughts. And I said, impossible. And he said to me, you don't get the kind of gifts that I have if you lie.
Let's please multiply two numbers and see if he gets it.
Okay, what is it?
9, 0, 0.
Unbelievable.
1. Maybe shuffle down a crowd. Oh.
Plus. 2.
So he got the plus.
I was wondering that because I was looking at the 2 the whole time and I saw his hand going somewhere else.
What is this phenomenon happening? Why are his mind and my mind completely connected?
I knew that a lot of people would think, boy, Diane's gone off the deep end. But
that's the risk any scientist takes when they challenge the current paradigm.
Joining us today to shed some light, Dr. Diane Powell.
I'm working with children who have been reported by a parent to be able to read their mind.
The data was so compelling and accurate that I had to follow it, even though I knew I was risking my scientific reputation.
I started testing them, and I found that they were exceedingly accurate.
What is the next number? 3.
After the medical board took my license away, I had to prove my sanity. Once I did, I said, I'm going to prove that ESP is real.
Dr. Tarrant, he's done these QEEG scans to see what's going on.
The biggest overall finding is really this increase of activation across all the brain waves. If there was no change, I would definitely be skeptical.
If you can show a consistent pattern, particularly from kid to kid, that's how science changes. You cannot fake this.
We want answers like where does it come from? I want to know how and what I'm supposed to do.
We can't all be crazy.
We are far more powerful than we can imagine, and the implications are huge for humanity and the planet.
That's the telepathy tapes. And I gotta say, like, the first 2 episodes talk about mainly telepathy and how they're doing it and like what's going on. But man, it gets so much more wild than that. Like, I'm not going to describe too much of it because you sound like a lunatic if you start describing the things that are happening in the
dude
that show.
When I was 16, I took a week-long course in Qigong. It was a specific form of Qigong, Dadao Chan Gong, by Grandmaster Fu Weizhong. He was staying with my girlfriend's mom at the time. He came from Ermei Mountain in China, and he came over here, and Fayette County, Georgia was like the start of his American tour to enlighten the West on his way. Okay. And I saw some things in that week of learning Qigong from this dude, from my girlfriend's mom at the time. I can believe every bit of what you're saying right now. I saw a 90-pound Chinaman, 65 years old, hop up. Like we held rice paper at chest level, and this dude jumped up on it and walked across it and didn't break it.
Interesting.
Yeah, dude. Like I believe you. I've seen some things. Okay,
Dave, I
like
can't
the
wait
beginning.
for your rice paper tapes. That's going to be a fucking.
So I think it's important for us to to think clearly about this, not just us, but for people in general to think clearly about this, which is that if this can be proven to be a true phenomenon, then that means that there is something about the natural world or something about how something works that is causing it to happen. It means that our current scientific theories are not sufficient to explain everything that happens in the world. It doesn't mean, oh, science is completely debunked. And on the other hand, it also doesn't mean that it's impossible just because it doesn't accord with our current understanding of the theories. It means that we need better theories to explain more things that are happening.
Correct.
Really
and
happen.
they're not the people on the tapes. So the person who made the telepathy tapes, Kai Dickens, she's a documentary filmmaker who's like very curious, very good at what she does. And she's not proposing that whatsoever. She's not proposing that all science is debunked. She's proposing that science excludes an entire section of reality based on what they call materialism, where if you can't see it and measure it, it doesn't exist.
Well, actually, okay, so thank you for helping me clarify my point, because my claim actually is that we have no way of knowing right now that something unmaterial is going on with this. Like, it could very well be some aspect of perception or something that actually is causing it that we just don't understand right now. So a lot of the time, this stuff with ESP and telepathy gets dismissed as unscientific because a lot of the people in the past that have claimed to have been studying it and claimed to have been demonstrating it have ranged from people with serious methodological issues that discredit the study that they were doing to people that were complete frauds and making all of their data up. But what that doesn't do is demonstrate that it's physically impossible for such a thing to be occurring.
Right. And what I'm saying is telepathy is the smallest thing that happens during this podcast. It's the most believable out of all the things that they discover during this show. Telepathy, like it's the easiest step on all the steps that you're going to go down if you end up watching,
to like comprehend through this, or
like, yes.
I mean, went to remote viewing it all on the telepathy tapes.
They haven't yet, but I'm only on episode 7, and there's 10 episodes.
We've talked about it on this podcast multiple times.
Quite a bit, actually.
Talk about remote viewing for sure, but I mean, they've been able to talk to people who have died years before. One guy can just put his hand on a book and absorb its information. I'm telling, like, you sound insane when you say these things, but you get like, this isn't a show that I have anything to do with. It's not a show I produce. I'm not making any money off this thing. You got, like, it is a paradigm shifting in my reality.
Should I be sober, drunk, or high, or some combination of the three to enjoy this show?
Sober.
I've listened to a couple of them, and I've only gotten as far as the kids with like severe autism connection to their mothers generally.
Yeah.
But it's definitely worth checking out. It is super interesting.
Watch it. Yeah.
And
I just need to know what.
I mean, I think it's a complete. Look at how a lot of other animals interact with each other. There's no reason to believe that the human species doesn't have the same ability to communicate in some way. And we didn't always have such a vast knowledge of language. Yeah. So
like when someone
it's
goes
not necessarily
blind,
speech. That's the thing. It's not speech. It's
right.
Symbols or color. It's not as speech as they're not talking, in my opinion, in the way that we're talking here.
Correct.
I have two minor points on this. One is, we've mentioned this at another show, I think, but like if you go blind, it like your hearing can sometimes be elevated to account for the lack of one. If we develop verbal auditory communication, maybe there's another form of communication that has diminished because we have this other way, but it's still in the background or whatever. And the other point I forgot.
Well, and that's like, typically the trade-off. If you're like super high IQ, you're emotionally retarded.
Yes.
Yes.
It's
kind of like that. There's a trade-off.
Complete deadpan. Yeah.
Sorry, that was too funny. Case in point, level 9,000.
Right? Yeah,
that's hilarious.
So, just the previews we watched reminds me of that. What was that show that Kiefer Sutherland was in a while back? Touch.
I don't know.
Where there's like, of course, he's
crime
solving on the fly, but he's getting clues from this autistic kid that, like, as they enter certain areas, like he's reading like the energy of what's in the area, and he's like, and he'll like write numbers down, and then he has to figure out what the number means, and he's solving crime that way.
I have no idea what this is.
All right.
It reminds me of that. Anyways, if you want the Hollywood version of that crap,
right,
watch that show Touch. But telepathy tapes. We do know there was some stuff with the CIA that was declassified under Obama because there was some quid pro quo that were made between Obama and Putin. We got the rest of the Soviet UFO files. We declassified Project Bluebeam, and then quickly figured out that Project Bluebeam was just a pile of crap. The real secret stuff was another name. But some of the stuff that was declassified was that the CIA they've had this group of people that they've been monitoring and studying for 30 plus years. And it's stuff like that. They can read minds. They can walk through walls, kind of like General Stubblebine. He was made out to be like this crazy guy. But that was like the basis of his entire career. They could, send objects through other physical objects. The CIA, U.S. military has been following these things for at least 30 years, and it was declassified in the last 10. Blue Book. Maybe it was Blue Book. Blue Beam.
I know by name, but
yeah.
Blue Beam. I mean, I've heard of Blue Beam. I haven't heard of Blue Book.
Right.
Yeah. Blue Book either.
Blue Ball. Maybe Blue Ball.
Yeah.
My
fake alien invasion.
My advice for everybody out there is go listen to the telepathy tapes. It's a listen. It's not a watch. It's an audio podcast. I think you can watch a bunch of stuff online, but it's an audio podcast.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Yeah, makes it super easy. I listened to 5 episodes on one.
Why did they have a video trailer?
Because they have a ton of video on their website, so that they wanted to make sure to document everything visually so that you can see they're not cheating or lying.
Oh, that makes sense. Just to corroborate for the audio. Okay.
Yeah. All right, y'all.
Wait, can I be a little bit autistic for a minute, because I really need to go back to the question of whether it's sinful for Christians to charge interest, because
I love how far back we're going. Oh my God. 48 minutes ago. Perfect. Yes, go. Hit it.
Okay, so when we're talking about lending people money, there's a spectrum that goes all the way from people taking payday loans at like 40 or 50% interest and being completely taken advantage of to buy crap that they shouldn't be buying. There's all the way from that to, a Fortune 500 company where their financial analysts have determined the optimal capital structure includes this mix of equity and this mix of bonds, so they want to issue bonds, and their investors are going to buy these bonds. And interest, the sheer act of charging interest, encompasses all of those. So if you're saying on its face interest is immoral and shouldn't be done, that means that entire spectrum of activity is a sin. And in Islam, that actually is what they think. So they have some pretty interesting financial instruments to kind of replicate what bonds usually do, but in a way that's not technically charging or paying interest. But I think if you look at the biblical passages about interest and read them in their proper context, it's very much more about not charging your own friends, family, and countrymen exorbitant interest rates when they've fallen on hard times, because that's just not being kind to them and taking advantage of them. And it's that attitude of hard-heartedness towards people that is the sin, not just saying, you know, we want to build a factory and it have a $5 million bond issue. Like, I think that
what if you don't charge interest, but you get to lay with their wife?
It's quite the spectrum.
Yeah. There's like, where does that fall in the goodness here, you know?
Yeah.
Is that more of Christ?
Now you're asking for a lot, and you could turn yourself into limestone.
All right. Well, we're not gonna continue the debate, Zane. We can bring this up another episode because we're at 2 hours and 5 minutes now, and I
was gonna bring something up.
Sorry, I just had to get that off my chest. Nobody needs to respond to it. I just had to get it out there.
It's all right.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. We're going to go to the fun one. Before we do, go to peacefulseed.network. Check out everything we're doing over there. Launched a couple new shows recently. We are in pre-production on our very first feature film. It's the script is being written as we speak. So
cool.
Yeah, look forward to that. And
I'm in pre-production on a movie too, because I'm thinking about writing a script.
Oh, nice.
You're in pre-production.
Yeah.
Congrats, man. We should throw a party for you or something.
I don't mean to step on your pre-production toes here, but you're not the only one.
All right. Well, let's end the night on some funny videos, and then we will get out of here if I can bring them up. Let's see. All right.
It's not going to be as funny as April Day.
That's fair. Why isn't it playing? Uh-oh. I think it froze. There we go. Man.
Oh, what is going on here?
I don't know. It's not letting me do anything. Give me a second, y'all.
What was he jumping in?
It looked like shit.
It looked like shit, didn't it? Yeah, that was kind of what I was asking.
Yeah, I'm having some issues.
I'm not an expert, but
you mean clean energy?
Yeah, yeah. It looked like green.
Yeah, renewable energy.
Yeah, repooable.
Yeah,
this is really strange. My computer's doing some weird stuff right now. We might not have funny things to show. Let's see. All right, we're going to try it one more time.
Okay.
And
I was about to have to show my third nipple just to show something funny.
There we go.
No, now we don't see it. So now we hear it, but don't see it. Oh, there it is.
How do you not see it?
Oh, it's there.
Now I see it.
There it is.
Okay.
No, it's not right.
Yeah, no, it was working. It was only the first one that I cared about.
Oh, okay.
Here you go. Here's the second video. First one was a disaster.
What is that? That's kind of nightmarish, actually.
Oh, I may have shared this one last week, but still worth seeing again.
Calm down. God damn it, Chug. You're too old for this shit. All right, breathe. Stop it. Breathe. Get your head out.
I love his name. It's Chug.
I have to do that with my poodle. Oh my god, he will go full spring break on an entire bowl of water. I have to
I thought poodles are supposed to be smart.
He is. He will open a door if it's like one of the door handles that you can like pull down on. He'll
like
open
a velociraptor.
But if you put a whole bowl of water in front of him right after a walk, you've got to like physically grab him and shake him and go, Ziggy, stop. And he'll like, otherwise he would go full spring break on the whole bowl of water and he'll throw up half of it on the couch right afterward.
All right.
Sounds
2 more
fun.
left.
Oh! I wanted him to writhe in pain this evening. I fully expected to be stopped by workers by now. Everybody, do your best to hit the man in the armor. Oh! Oh! Yes! Why is this driver so pathetic? Let me acquire one of my peasants' clubs. This one I shall take. Whose is this? Yours? You may kiss my hand. What is your name? Come with me, Greg. For now I have Sir Greg's club. And I have my golden ball. Oh! First shot! So Gregory, you come. Hit him through the tiny crack in his armor. I want
I
him
would
to
keep
writhe
that
in pain
Renaissance
this
Festival.
evening.
Dang it! That's my last one. Some of the guys are going up.
Aha! Another! Aha! Oh, he's checking the time. He's bored. Yeah.
That's it. All right. Final one of the evening. I think this was thanks to Mr. Stephen Hilton.
Are you kidding me? Is that a parking ticket? Come on, dog. I was barely even gone a minute. I literally just walked in and paid the doctor visit in the doctor's clinic basement. I locked me in. But whatever. Let me guess. It's not your problem, is it? I was not permitted to park here. This law's restricted. I bet you hated your job too. You got the balls to quit it, which makes sense. Considering how small you are. You're parked in a handicap stall. Oh, shit. I am parked in a Oh, man, I'm sorry, man. Handicap stall, that's stall, that's stall.
Yes.
That was pretty good.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's a Canadian rapper, DTG, which also goes by Lil Windex sometimes.
Lil Windex. Where did
How is it related to DTG?
Well, you got to follow him to figure that out. That's a whole nother show. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Well, we're going to end it there. Sean, thank you for joining. And, man, congrats on your victory up there, dude.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you guys for having me on again. It's always a blast. I love hanging out with you guys. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Heck
absolutely.
yeah.
Well,
All right,
dude.
y'all. Make sure to tune in next week for more Liberty Libations. Head on over to peacefulc.network to check out everything else we do. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Cheers.